Beloved chosen one, the reason this moment feels different is because something in you has finally stopped running. You are not listening to these words by accident, and you are not standing in an ordinary hour. Heaven has watched your wrestling. Heaven has watched the nights when you delayed, the mornings when you almost said yes and then stepped back, the hidden arguments inside your soul when you knew what God was asking but feared what obedience would cost. Yet tonight the tension shifts because you finally obeyed. That is why the atmosphere around your life has changed. That is why the pressure feels unusual. That is why your spirit senses a holy stillness mixed with trembling expectation. God smiled, not because you became perfect, not because you suddenly understood every detail, but because you gave him what he has long desired from you, your yielded heart. There is a kind of obedience that comes from duty, and there is a kind that rises from surrender. Tonight is about surrender. You have come to the edge of your own resistance and laid it down. You have stopped bargaining. You have stopped asking for 10 more signs before moving. You have stopped trying to preserve the old version of yourself while still asking for a new season. That is why this moment carries weight. Your obedience is not a small act in the spirit. It is a signal. It is a declaration. It is your soul saying that God is greater than your fear, greater than your confusion, greater than your attachment to what was familiar. When a chosen one finally obeys, things begin to move that human eyes cannot yet measure. Do not dismiss what happened in you. Some people would call it a decision. Heaven calls it alignment. Some people would call it emotion. Heaven calls it agreement. Some people would say you are only turning a page. But in the spirit, this is a gate. This is the hour where your yes becomes louder than your excuses. This is the hour where your submission begins speaking on your behalf. For so long you carried the ache of knowing you were made for more while also feeling trapped by hesitation. You knew there was a next step, but something kept freezing inside you. It was not always rebellion in the obvious sense. Sometimes it was exhaustion. Sometimes it was disappointment. Sometimes it was the memory of what happened the last time you trusted too deeply. But even then, the call of God did not leave you. It remained. It waited. It pressed gently and then firmly. Until tonight. Tonight you finally gave him your yes. And that yes matters more than you realize. It is not loud in the world, but it is loud in heaven. It is not flashy to other people, but it shines before God. You may still feel fragile. You may still feel uncertain about what comes next. But do not confuse uncertainty with disobedience. You obeyed, and heaven has marked the moment. The smile of God over your life is not sentimental. It is a sign of pleasure in your trust. It is the holy response of a father who sees that you chose him even while your knees were shaking. The world celebrates confidence. God honors obedience. The world praises those who look fearless. God looks for those who move even while trembling. This is why your obedience carries so much beauty tonight. It cost you something real. You had to release the illusion of control. You had to let go of the right to keep postponing your calling. You had to stop feeding the habits that kept your spirit half awake. You had to face the truth that delay was becoming its own form of comfort. And still, you obeyed. You broke agreement with the version of yourself that always needed one more day, one more excuse, one more escape route. You stepped out of that cycle, and the moment you did, the spiritual climate shifted. The enemy hates true obedience because obedience restores order. Obedience breaks confusion. Obedience closes doors that fear once held open. Obedience puts your feet back on the path that was prepared for you long before your pain tried to rename you. So breathe in this moment. Do not rush past it. Do not minimize it. Let your spirit understand what your flesh is still trying to catch up with. God smiled because you finally obeyed. That means this night is not empty. It is charged with consequence. It is filled with divine attention. It carries a weight that will reach beyond what you currently see. There are moments in life when one act of surrender does more than years of striving ever could. This is one of those moments. Your obedience has become a witness in the spirit that you are ready to stop circling and start entering. Comment 777 below if this word is confirming what your spirit already knew. And now you can feel the seriousness of what stands before you. Because when you obey, it is not only about what you left behind. It is also about what heaven will entrust next. God is not casual with surrendered hearts. He watches what you do with conviction. He sees whether your yes is passing emotion or holy commitment. Tonight is precious because it reveals that something in you has matured. Something in you has chosen alignment over delay. Something in you has said that even if the road ahead is costly, the pain of staying the same has become greater. That is why this night matters. You have crossed an invisible threshold. You are no longer where you were when you resisted. You are no longer who you were when you hid from the voice calling you forward. You have entered a different posture, and posture changes everything. A bowed heart can receive what a stubborn heart cannot hold. A surrendered spirit can hear what a noisy soul keeps missing. The next thing God does will not come from your striving. It will come from your obedience. So stay still for a moment longer. Let this truth settle deep. Heaven has noticed, God has smiled. And tonight, because you finally obeyed, the story does not remain where it was. What makes this hour so sacred is that your yes did not appear in a life untouched by struggle. It rose out of pressure. It rose out of hesitation. It rose out of the kind of inner storm that leaves you looking calm on the outside while everything inside feels pulled in opposite directions. That is why your obedience carries such weight tonight. It is not the obedience of someone who never wrestled. It is the obedience of someone who wrestled deeply and still chose God in the end. And that is where the story begins to connect with Peter in a way that is not distant from you at all. Because Peter knew what it meant to be called forward in the middle of unstable conditions. He was not standing on solid ground when Jesus called him. He was surrounded by wind, by uncertainty, by the sound of threat all around him. The others remained in the boat, but Peter heard a voice stronger than the storm. That is the part many people celebrate, and rightly so, because it took courage to lift one foot and then the other onto water that should not have held him. But what matters tonight is not only that Peter stepped out. What matters is why he stepped out. He moved because the word of the Lord reached him in the place of his fear. He moved because divine invitation became more real than natural limitation. He moved because obedience overpowered self-protection for one holy moment. That is where you are now. You are not obeying because conditions finally became easy. You are obeying because the voice of God has become too clear to keep ignoring. There is something so human and so powerful in Peter's story. He was bold, but he was also fragile. He had fire in him, yet he could still shake. He could answer a call in faith and then, moments later, feel overwhelmed by what surrounded him. That tension is important because it means your obedience does not become less real just because your emotions are still catching up. Some of you have thought that if fear is still present, then maybe your yes is not genuine. But Peter teaches you something deeper. A trembling step can still be a holy step. A heart that quivers can still be a heart that obeys. God is not waiting for the complete disappearance of human weakness before he honors surrender. He is looking for willingness in the middle of weakness. That is why this message meets you so personally. You finally obeyed while still feeling the wind. And yes, the wind matters, because after that first step, Peter began noticing what was around him. He saw the waves. He felt the force of what opposed him. He became aware of how unnatural this path was, and fear started speaking louder than faith. That is when he began to sink. Not because the call was false, not because Jesus had changed his mind, not because Peter was never meant to leave the boat. He sank because he shifted his focus from the one who called him to the chaos that challenged him. You know this feeling. You have known what it is to begin in courage and then feel your mind flooded with all the reasons you might fail. You have known what it is to say yes to God, and then hear every old fear rise up as if obedience itself awakened the storm. But even in that moment, Peter's story does not become a story of rejection. It becomes a story of rescue. He cried out. That is one of the most beautiful details in the whole moment. He cried out, and Jesus reached for him. That means obedience is not canceled by your struggle in the middle of it. It means the God who called you is also the God who holds you when your faith shakes. It means tonight is not about performing flawlessly. It is about staying near the hand that can keep you from going under. Perhaps that is why God smiled when you finally obeyed. Not because he expects you to glide through every next step without trembling, but because your heart has turned toward him enough to say, I would rather reach for your hand in the storm than stay in the false safety of the boat. That posture changes everything. And maybe this is where your spirit softens, because you begin to realize that the path ahead will not always look stable to human eyes. It may still involve wind. It may still involve moments where your feelings lag behind your obedience. But the smile of God over you is not withdrawn the moment you feel weak. The call remains, the hand remains, the mercy remains. Peter's story reminds you that being chosen does not mean being untouched by fear. It means being drawn, corrected, steadied, and carried by the presence of Christ through every trembling step until obedience grows stronger than panic. So as this message settles in your heart, let it become more than a passing emotional moment. Let it become something you carry and something you share. If this word is strengthening you, gently, like this message, share it with someone who needs courage. Subscribe so you stay connected to what God is building here. And if your heart feels led to support this work, you can donate through the description below. Because tonight is not only about the first yes, it is about what happens after the first yes, when your feet touch what should have been impossible and you learn that obedience is not the absence of storm, but the decision to answer Jesus above it. That is where your life is moving now. The old delay is breaking, the boat is behind you, and the same God who smiled at your obedience is already watching how you will stand when the wind answers back. And that is why you cannot go back to who you were before this night. The water may still tremble beneath you, the wind may still test your focus, but your spirit has heard the voice that called you out. What began as one act of obedience is becoming a new way of living, a deeper trust, a steadier gaze, a heart less ruled by fear. Stay close, stay humble, stay listening. The same hand that lifted Peter will steady you too. And what happens next will reveal that your obedience was not the end of the story, but a beginning. And this is where Peter's story moves even closer to your own. Because the most important part is not that he stepped out or even that he began to sink. The deepest part is what happened after the hand of Jesus closed around him. In that moment, Peter discovered something that every chosen one must eventually learn. Obedience is not proven only in the first burst of courage. It is revealed in what you become after God meets you in your weakness. Tonight, that truth stands over your life with great seriousness, because you have already made the first move of surrender. And now heaven is watching what your surrendered heart will do when emotion settles and reality begins to test what you declared. Peter had just lived through a moment no ordinary language could fully explain. He had stepped onto what should not have held him. He had felt both faith and fear inside the same body. He had cried out when his strength failed, and he had been caught by the very one who called him. That kind of encounter changes a person. It strips away illusion. It exposes the limits of self-trust. It teaches you that your survival does not rest in your own steadiness, but in the nearness of Christ. That is why tonight is not merely about your decision to obey. It is about the deeper lesson rising beneath that decision. God is showing you that what comes next cannot be carried by your own willpower alone. If your future depended only on how strong you feel, you would always be one wave away from retreat. But if your future depends on the hand of God, then even your shaking can become the place where divine strength meets you. This is where many people misunderstand the spiritual life. They think God smiles only when His children appear powerful. They think heaven approves only of polished faith, flawless discipline, and unbroken confidence. But Peter's life destroys that illusion. The smile of God often rests on the soul that returns, the heart that reaches, the person who refuses to stay in distance after failure. Peter was not chosen because he never faltered. He was chosen because even in faltering, he remained drawn toward Jesus. That is the holy thread running through this message tonight. You finally obeyed. And now the next question is not whether weakness will ever visit you again. The question is where you will turn when it does. Will you go back to old hiding places? Or will you keep your spirit turned toward the one who called you beyond the boat? That is why tonight feels weighty. God is not deciding what comes next based only on your emotions in a single moment. He is looking at the posture beneath them. He is looking at whether your yes is becoming rooted. He is looking at whether obedience is taking hold beneath the surface of your life. Peter had to learn that calling is not sustained by dramatic moments alone. It must become a way of seeing, a way of trusting, a way of returning when the heart starts drifting. The same is true for you. This night matters because it opens a threshold, but thresholds are not places to camp forever. They are places to cross. God smiled when you obeyed, but His smile is also inviting you deeper, into a steadiness that no longer depends on the applause of others, the clarity of circumstances, or the comfort of immediate results. Peter would later become a man marked by that deeper steadiness, but not all at once. He had to be formed. He had to be humbled. He had to discover that the voice of Jesus was more trustworthy than his own impulses. He had to learn that love must outlast pride, that devotion must survive embarrassment, that calling must be purified through surrender. In the same way, your obedience tonight is not the final chapter of your formation. It is the opening of a more honest chapter. God is not merely bringing you into action, He is bringing you into transformation. He is leading you away from the unstable need to appear strong and into the quieter strength of dependence. This is why the scripture says perfect love drives out fear. 1 John chapter 4 verse 18. That does not mean fear never tries to speak. It means fear loses its authority where love is allowed to mature. Peter's journey was not the story of a man who never felt afraid again. It was the story of a man increasingly shaped by love for the one who kept calling him forward. And that is what God is working in you now. Not performance, not image, not religious strain. Love that deepens obedience, love that keeps you near, love that steadies your gaze when the night feels uncertain and the future is not yet spoken plainly. So do not think this hour is small. It is tender, but it is not weak. It is quiet, but it is not empty. Something profound is being weighed over your life. The Lord is deciding what comes next, and that decision is meeting the version of you that has finally stopped resisting. Not the version that wanted escape, not the version that kept negotiating, but the version that said yes even with trembling in the chest. That matters. Heaven sees it. Heaven records it. And like Peter standing wet in the aftermath of wind and wonder, you are entering a sacred realization. The one who called you is not looking for your perfection before he leads you forward. He is looking for your willingness to stay close enough to be formed. That is why tonight does not end with fear. It ends with holy sobriety and quiet expectation. Your obedience has opened the door, but your closeness to God will determine how you walk through it. The hand that lifted Peter is still near. The voice that called him is still speaking. And what comes next in your life will not merely reveal your strength. It will reveal how deeply you have learned to trust the one who smiled when you finally obeyed. At the beginning of this part, let this be said simply and clearly. If your mind has felt scattered, foggy, overstretched, or too drained to hold focus the way it once did, there is a tool called the Genius Wave, also known in some places as Genius Song, that is presented as a short audio experience designed to help support concentration, mental clarity, creativity, and a calmer state of mind in just a few minutes a day. If that sounds relevant to where you are right now, you can look for the official information in the description or the pinned comment, and if you ever choose to explore it, be careful with imitation pages and use only the official source. Now come back to the deeper current of what is happening in your spirit. Because the real issue tonight is not only tiredness of mind, it is the weight of war after obedience. It is the pressure that often arrives after a holy yes. You may have noticed that once you stopped resisting God, another kind of tension appeared. The soul grew quieter, but the battle did not vanish. In some ways, it became clearer. That is because obedience does not always remove the storm at once. Sometimes it reveals the storm more sharply so that you can finally see what you are actually standing against. This is where many chosen ones grow discouraged. They assume that because they obeyed, everything should immediately feel easy. They think the path should instantly smooth out, the emotions should settle without struggle, and the mind should never again be touched by confusion. But that is not how many sacred moments unfold. Sometimes the first evidence that your obedience was real is that darkness notices it. The old patterns that once kept you passive do not quietly leave without resistance. The thoughts that once ruled you do not surrender their ground without trying to rise again. The atmosphere around your life may even feel more intense for a time. Not because you made the wrong move, but because your yes disrupted what had grown comfortable in your delay. That is why you must not panic when the pressure increases. Pressure is not always proof that something is wrong. Sometimes it is proof that something important has shifted. When you were undecided, half-hidden, and spiritually stalled, the enemy had little reason to react. But once your obedience became real, once your heart crossed that inner line and said no more delay, no more bargaining, no more running, the battle changed shape. You stepped out of agreement with stagnation, and heaven recorded it. That kind of movement sends a message through the unseen realm. It says that your life is no longer available for the same old compromise. So tonight you are being taught a difficult but powerful lesson. The smile of God over your obedience does not mean you will feel no resistance. It means resistance no longer has the right to define you. There is a difference. You may still hear the whisper of fear, but fear is no longer your master. You may still feel mental strain, But strain is no longer your identity. You may still encounter nights where the future looks unclear, but uncertainty no longer has the final word over your path. God is leading you into a stronger interior place, a place where you stop measuring His presence by the absence of tension and begin recognizing His presence by the steadiness He grows inside you in the middle of tension. And that steadiness matters now more than ever, because what comes next in your journey will require a more anchored soul. The season ahead will not be built on emotional highs alone. It will require consistency. It will require attention. It will require the ability to remain inwardly aligned when life around you becomes noisy. This is part of why tonight feels like such a dividing line. Your obedience opened the door, but endurance will teach you how to walk through it. Endurance is where many destinies are either strengthened or weakened. Not because God changes His mind easily, but because people often grow weary after the first burst of sincerity. They say yes in one sacred hour, then slowly drift when the emotional fire cools. But that is not what God is drawing from you now. He is drawing a deeper yes, and a quieter yes, a yes that does not need constant applause, a yes that remains standing in private, a yes that can survive ordinary days, delayed answers, inward battles, and the ache of being reshaped. This is what makes the chosen path so different from shallow excitement. Excitement can make promises in a moment. Obedience stays when the moment becomes a process. And tonight, you are being called beyond the first wave of surrender into the more mature territory of abiding. So guard your mind, guard your focus, and guard the atmosphere of your inner life. Do not feed the voices that pull you back toward confusion. Do not romanticize the places God delivered you from. Do not reopen the doors that your obedience just closed. The battle may be invisible to other people, but it is not unreal. Your peace must be protected. Your spiritual hearing must be protected. Your sense of direction must be protected. Not with panic, and not with striving, but with holy awareness. You are in a forming hour, and the way you carry yourself in this hour will shape what you are able to receive next. The truth is that your yes has already done more than you can see. It has shifted the interior ground beneath your life. It has announced that you are willing to be led. It has made room for God to refine what was unstable and strengthen what was sincere. And now the question is not whether the night will test you. It will. The question is whether you will remember when the pressure speaks, that God already smiled over your obedience. He has not forgotten your surrender. He has not dismissed your tears. He has not overlooked the courage it took for you to stop resisting and come into alignment. So breathe again and stand firm again. The conflict around you is not greater than the call upon you. The noise around you is not greater than the voice that summoned you. And the next step will not be decided by fear, exhaustion, or old habits. It will be shaped by the God who saw your obedience, smiled over it, and is even now preparing your spirit to carry what comes next. Now the path grows quieter, and in that quietness the real test begins. The first rush of surrender has already passed. The tears that once came quickly may no longer be falling. The feeling of holy shock may have softened. You are left with the part that reveals what obedience truly means. Because what follows your yes is often not immediate celebration, but endurance. This is the place where many souls discover whether they loved the feeling of the moment more than the God who spoke in it. And this is the place where your life is being weighed now. Not in cruelty, not in coldness, but in truth. Tonight, heaven is looking at the part of you that remains. When the atmosphere is no longer dramatic and the only thing left is faithfulness. This is where chosen ones are often stretched the most. Not when they are still resisting, not when they are still debating, but after they have obeyed and are now asked to keep obeying without constant reassurance. That kind of endurance reaches deeper than emotion. It reaches the will, it reaches character, it reaches the hidden chambers of the heart where private loyalties are formed. You can say yes in one sacred hour, but endurance is what teaches your soul to say yes again when the next morning feels ordinary, when the answer seems delayed, when the burden feels heavy, and when no one around you fully understands the cost of staying aligned. That is why this stage matters so much. It is where obedience stops being an event and becomes a nature. It is where your inner life learns rhythm. You begin to discover that the deepest kind of surrender is not loud. It is consistent. It is patient. It is willing to remain under the hand of God long enough for old instincts to lose power. Before, you may have thought obedience was mainly about making one brave decision. Now you are learning that obedience is also about remaining planted after the decision, holding your place when distraction comes, keeping your spirit clean when bitterness tries to return, and refusing to let temporary discomfort talk you out of permanent transformation. This is where some people grow tired and start negotiating again. They tell themselves they have already done enough. They begin reaching for comfort in old places. They start reopening conversations that God already closed. They step back toward habits that once numbed them because endurance feels less thrilling than the original breakthrough. But you must understand something deeply tonight. The test after obedience is not punishment. It is strengthening. God is not trying to break your spirit. He is teaching your spirit how to carry more. He is expanding your capacity to remain true when the road ahead requires maturity, not just inspiration, and that maturity is precious. It is what keeps a chosen life from collapsing under pressure. Anyone can feel intense for a moment. Anyone can make promises while the heart is stirred. But the soul that endures becomes dependable in the spirit. It becomes rooted, it becomes less reactive, less fragile, less ruled by whatever feeling is strongest in the hour. That is the kind of person God can trust with greater weight, not because He loves them more than others, but because endurance has created room in them for steadiness. And steadiness is holy. Steadiness is rare. Steadiness is how you keep walking when the path narrows and the future does not fully explain itself yet. This is why the scripture says, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint." Isaiah chapter 40, verse 31. Notice the promise carefully. It does not say there will be no need for strength. It says strength will be renewed. It does not say you will never feel the length of the road. It says you will be carried through it. This means endurance is not you forcing yourself to survive by human effort alone. Endurance is what happens when hope keeps pulling from a deeper source than your natural reserves. It is the quiet miracle of being upheld. That is the invitation before you now. To stop measuring your progress only by visible excitement and begin recognizing the sacred work happening in your constancy. Every time you resist the urge to turn back, endurance grows. Every time you choose prayer over panic, endurance grows. Every time you stay honest before God instead of pretending to be stronger than you feel, endurance grows. Every time you refuse to rebuild the chains that God already loosened, endurance grows. And with that endurance comes something beautiful. A life less tossed around by impulse, more anchored in peace, more capable of hearing what God is saying in the silence between major moments. So do not despise this slower part of the journey. It is here that your yes becomes durable. It is here that your private loyalty becomes visible to heaven. It is here that God forms in you the kind of obedience that does not depend on perfect weather. The chosen path is not sustained by constant signs. It is sustained by a heart that has learned to stay. Stay near, stay clean, stay available, stay soft before God and firm against the pull of old compromise. Comment "I will stay" if this is the posture your spirit is choosing tonight, because what comes next will require exactly this kind of depth. Not borrowed fire, not passing emotion, not unstable devotion. It will require a heart that can remain in agreement with God beyond one powerful night. And that is what is being built in you now. The Lord who smiled when you finally obeyed is also strengthening you to remain obedient when the road is long. He is teaching your soul how to endure without hardening, how to wait without drifting, how to be tested without collapsing. And when this work is complete, you will see that the waiting was not empty at all. It was the place where your obedience became strong enough to carry the next season God is preparing to release over your life. And now the night reaches its most tender and most serious place. Because after the surrender, after the storm, after the testing, there comes the moment when heaven settles the matter of what your next season requires. This is not a decision made in anger. It is not a cold verdict handed down from a distant throne. It is the wise and holy response of a father who has watched your struggle, measured your obedience, seen your tears, and understood the parts of your journey that no one else could fully read. God smiled because you finally obeyed. But his smile was never shallow. It carried love, yes, but it also carried intention. It carried the weight of what must now be entrusted, refined, opened, delayed, healed, or accelerated according to his perfect wisdom. So tonight you stand before him without pretense. You do not need to perform now. You do not need to impress heaven with polished language. You do not need to pretend that you are stronger than you feel. This is the hour to stand as you are, fully seen, fully known, and fully invited into deeper trust. Because the truth is that what comes next in your life will not be decided by image. It will be shaped by alignment. It will be shaped by whether your heart can carry the very thing it has been asking for. Some doors open only when desire has matured into stewardship. Some answers come only when obedience has made room for them. Some forms of elevation must wait until the soul beneath them has become able to remain humble under their weight. That is why this night is sacred. God is not merely choosing between blessing and hardship in the simple way the human mind often imagines. He is deciding what form of mercy you need most. For one person, mercy looks like sudden release. For another, mercy looks like holy delay. For one person, mercy looks like promotion. For another, mercy looks like further pruning before promotion arrives. The chosen heart learns not to fear this, because it understands something the flesh resists. Whatever God chooses next will not be less loving than what you wanted. It will be more wise. It will be more exact. It will be more fitted to your real need than anything you would have chosen in haste. And this is where your spirit can begin to pray, not with panic, but with reverence. Father, here I am. You have seen the battle that brought me to this night. You have seen the places where I resisted and the place where I finally surrendered. You have seen my fear, my weariness, my longing, and my hope. I do not ask you now to flatter my flesh or rush ahead of your wisdom. I ask you to decide what is right for me. Open what should be opened. Close what should be closed. Remove what cannot go with me. Strengthen what must remain. Correct me where I still need correction, and establish me where I am ready to stand. Let what comes next not be born from impulse, but from your perfect will. Keep my heart soft enough to receive your answer and strong enough to walk in it. Let my yes remain alive after tonight. Let obedience become my nature and not only my reaction to a holy moment. This prayer is not weakness. This prayer is maturity. It is the sound of a soul that no longer needs to control the outcome in order to trust the one who governs it. And there is peace in that place. There is rest in finally admitting that God sees farther than you do. You may still wonder what tomorrow holds. You may still feel the trembling of uncertainty. But something deeper than certainty is entering you now. Surrender is settling into peace. The need to force is giving way to the willingness to follow. The hunger for quick relief is yielding to the desire for whatever is truly right in the sight of God. This is how chosen ones grow strong. Not by getting every answer at once, but by becoming the kind of people who can remain in trust while heaven arranges what they cannot. So hear this clearly before the night closes. You are not forgotten. You are not disqualified by the slowness of your growth. You are not cast aside because the journey included fear. The God who smiled over your obedience is still near, still attentive, still deeply involved in the details of your becoming. And whatever He decides next will not be random. It will be holy. It will carry purpose. It will answer not only your prayer, but your formation. You may call it elevation. You may call it correction. You may call it waiting. But in the hands of God, each one can become mercy. Let this truth settle into your bones. Your next season is safer in the hands of God than in the hands of your urgency. Your future is safer in His timing than in your impatience. Your calling is safer under His formation than under your ambition. So rest tonight, not because every question has been answered, but because the one who answers them is faithful. And if this message has walked with you through the night, let your quiet support reflect what your spirit has received. You can gently like this message. Share it with someone who needs this same strengthening. Subscribe so you remain connected to what is being built here. And if you feel led to help sustain this work, there is a way to donate in the description below. Now lift your heart one more time. Father, I accept your decision before I fully understand it. I trust your wisdom above my preference. I receive your next step, whether it comes as opening, refining, waiting, or release. Keep me close, keep me clean, keep me willing. Let this night mark me not only with emotion but with enduring obedience. And let what you choose next bring glory to your name and peace to my soul. The night grows still now, and in that stillness you are no longer the person who first arrived here. Something has shifted in you. Resistance has weakened. Surrender has spoken. Fear has not vanished completely, but it has lost the throne. You have remembered that God is not merely watching your life from afar. He is shaping it with intention, reading every hidden struggle, honoring every true act of obedience, and guiding you with a wisdom greater than your own. So carry this peace with you. What happens next does not need to be forced tonight. It only needs to be entrusted. The smile of God over your obedience is real, and His decision over your next season will not be careless. Stay near Him. Stay faithful in quiet places. Stay open to correction and unafraid of delay. The same God who called you, kept you, and met you in your trembling will also lead you forward in perfect time. Tonight was not the end of your struggle only. It was the beginning of a steadier walk. And that walk will reveal, step by step, that your obedience opened more than a moment. It opened a future.